Mhm. With 5 seconds to spare.
Oh, man. That's what happens when you're 22,000 steps for the day. I'd like to call the Village of Middleville regular council meeting to order. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Mike Kramer,
Here.
Steve Baldry,
Here.
Robert Bishop,
Here.
Richard Hamilton, Mackenzie Peters,
Here.
Kevin Smith is absent, Ann Williams.
Here. I'll make a motion to excuse trustee Smith.
Support. We have a motion with support to excuse trustee Smith. Any further discussion before we vote? No. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Please rise for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support. We have a motion with support to approve the agenda as printed. Any further discussion before we vote? Just wait for Rhonda to. There we go. Hearing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support. We have a motion with support to approve the consent agenda consisting of the approval of minutes from the regular meeting from September 10th, 2024, and the approval of bills as of September 19th, 2024 for $153,623.82. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Richard Hamilton,
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters,
Aye.
Kevin Smith is absent, Ann Williams.
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries. Public comment? Anybody like to speak? Help yourself to the podium. All right, moving on. We have Catherine here from the county. Ms. Gedge?
Thank you. Good evening. So a quick update from the county. We met this morning. We are reviewing elected official compensation. So looking at what other county employees, we did some incentives to keep people around during COVID and spent some of our ARPA money to raise salaries. And so now we're looking at what those implications might be for our elected officials. Particularly the clerk, register of deeds, prosecutor, sheriff, and how do we adjust those salaries so that they're fairly compensated. Certainly county commissioner salary will be in there, but that's a much lower impact to the overall county budget. The Planning Commission approved site plan for Consumers Power solar installation in Johnstown Township last night at their Planning Commission meeting. I'm told it was a full house, but nothing out of the ordinary, really. The ordinance was followed. We approved moving the GIS position that was under the information technology to our planning and zoning department, which I think is a good fit. We did lose our GIS technician to another position, and so it's a good time to move that around. Our planning and zoning administrator, Jim McManus, is retiring end of December. So we have some work to do in our planning and zoning department. We set a public hearing date for our budget, which is October 22nd. We approved a contract for airport management with not going to pronounce this right, but I think he goes by just Gio Lucy. And that's a new airport manager. And we heard some praises about him today. I guess he had a nice event out there this weekend. We did approve a land bank loan agreement, and that was for across the street here, the Designware project. There was a little transition period where their EDA needed a loan for that. And of course, we said goodbye to Michael Brown at the end of last month. So there was a luncheon. I think Craig was there. I was unable to make it, but that's the highlights. Any questions from council? All right. I do have some flyers for Fall Harvest out at Charlton Park this weekend. I'll leave those with you. Maybe you can leave them somewhere in the village. And then the transit director asked me to read a statement. I'll read that at second public comment, if that's all right with you. Just wanting to share information about the upcoming millage request.
Thank you. All right. Probably going to mess this up. Mike Zonick?
Zonick.
It's close.
Sorry, folks. Thank you. If you haven't had an opportunity to get the materials we brought today, they're in the back of the room. My name is Mike Zonick. I'm a transportation planner with Grand Valley Metropolitan Council. I'm going to kind of stick to the script today because this all kind of came together today, and I don't want to miss my talking points. GVMC serves as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, for the Greater Grand Rapids region in areas of 50,000 of population, urban population. The federal government requires a planning entity like ourselves to take over the transportation planning from the state to provide an equitable process for the jurisdictions involved. And in our case, GVMC, we at the GVMC serve Kent and Eastern Ottawa counties. GVMC outside of our MPO communities additionally has members like Middleville, where we'll coordinate with resources and help you plan transportation improvements within your region. And that's why we're tasked by Craig to survey the road conditions of 18.6 miles within the community, excluding MDOT routes like M37 and private roads that are not owned by the village. Why do we rate roads? So formed in 2003, the Asset Management Council, or Transportation Asset Management Council, or TAMC, has been promoting asset management principles and practices to inform investment decisions among Michigan's transportation agencies. We rate roads to understand what strategies work and what don't work, and to try to get the longest use out of our infrastructure. The Pavement Service Evaluation and Rating System, which is what we use, we call PASER, was developed in part by the TMC to get everyone in Michigan involved, talking the same language, more or less. So what is PASER? PASER is a 1 to 10 windshield survey, with 1 being the worst and crumbling away. And we'll have severe structural issues underneath, and 10 being a complete reconstruct. If something was a 10, typically it was a 1 through 4 prior to that. I handed out a detailed asphalt PASER cheat sheet that explains some insight on what deficiencies cause each rating, and with some suggestions on fixes that correspond. It's that really detailed document that looks like this. I'm not going to go into any details about what each one is, because it's technical, but there's a reason for each rating. And our staff has been using this system since I was involved in 2008. In addition to the PASER, GVMC provides a few other metrics captured by our Tahoe. I don't know if you saw it a couple weeks ago. We're driving in this white Tahoe with a bunch of tricked out cameras and stuff, a bunch of lasers on it. That was kind of put together like Frankenstein by a crew down in Florida that specializes in pavement survey. That's what the trifold explains. That was also handed out at the beginning of the meeting. We're able to record images on both front and rear facing. We're able to collect IRI, which is a roughness index of the road as we're driving down. It kind of gets the ride of the road, as well as the rutting within the wheel path that the large trucks might leave behind. This is all captured on the fly while we're driving down the road, and we'll be working with Middleville staff and the GIS folks, or the tech people with them shortly to get this information. It's also important to note we're the only ones in the state that have this capability, so we're kind of special in that regard. What do we do with the pager data once we have it? So provided to the Midville staff were a few reports outlining the overall health and detailed condition by individual segment. You're not alone in the fact that their overall pavement rating, average pager rating was 4.2, which is poor, but don't be deterred because budgets are scarce and there's too much need for the money required to improve the overall state of roads, and that's consistent with a lot of communities. The good fair poor breakdown came in at 15% good, 20% fair, and 65% poor. We further went into the summaries by both legal system as it relates to the potential use for Act 51 funds from the state and National Functional Classification, or NFC, which would allow you to leverage federal aid funds from the Kalamazoo Area Transportation Study, MPO, Rural Task Force. In the report provided, I defined these categories and gave examples of what roads in your community qualify in each category. It's important to note that the higher order roads for city majors were determined to be in a little better condition at 5.0 of fair, so it's not all bad news. So what do we do next with all this information? It's up to Middleville now to come up with a plan to incorporate data and etch out a plan for a mix of fixes strategy based on the budgets you have, which include reconstructions, overlays, and capital and preventative maintenance, or CPM, like crack fillings. GVMC can't really recommend specific treatments because we're not a maintenance agency, but developing a plan is definitely key. We'd suggest attacking the pagers that are rating 5 through 7 that are currently in fair condition to keep them in that category as long as humanly possible, and noting when your 8s start to crack and start crack filling those to keep them at 8s for a while. You don't typically crack fill an 8, but it'll maintain an 8 as long as another cracks show up. Strategies to avoid are fixing the worst roads first because they cost the most and they'll set your budget out the door quickly. If a road's crumbling, it might be worth also helping the residents of the road out with a mill and fill or thick overlay rather than a full reconstruct, especially if the road is not used to heavy traffic or large trucks don't come out. There's no sense in building a road to all season when it's not necessary. Also being persistent and pursuing federal funds and state dollars or grants will extend your money as well. So work with your regional partners to inquire about opportunities and often be at the table when the money is being handed out because it's kind of a you must be present to win kind of scenario. So pay attention when those calls for projects are coming out. Coordinating with neighborhood maintenance municipalities would be a good idea for sharing best practice ideas as well. GVMC isn't in it for the money because we're a not-for-profit, but we would suggest, recommend an annual pager rating to track trend analysis year over year and see what's working and what is not. If it's not us, you should try to train a couple of staff members using the pager system. Just to have ongoing analysis to track your progress, more or less. And our final recommendation would be to utilize RoadSoft. It's a software that was created and supported by the Michigan Technical University for Michigan municipalities at zero cost. It allows you to leverage your year-over-year data storage, make asset management plans and actual real-life budgets, and match those up. Log your fixes and create reports and maps for sharing with your cohorts and the public. And it's truly a powerful tool, and a lot of our entities throughout the MPO use that and are very successful with the software to make their buck go as far as possible. I'd like to also point out that if there's an interest in acquiring the software, the survey that we just did a couple of weeks ago, that data can get exported and uploaded into your data set fairly seamlessly. And it's a lucky convenience that there's a training coming out October 1st, Introduction to RoadSoft, if you so want to go that direction. So I would truly suggest that. Overall, that's what we have. The reports we provided kind of overview what we did and where your condition rests. If you have any questions, I can handle those if you'd like.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
So I do have a couple questions. Oh my goodness. I don't remember where they started at though. So your lasers detect ruts. So did you, I didn't see it in here. Is
There's
there
no
like a
running.
classification for how deep those are?
When
So
we
the-
when we export the data, we have not got you that information yet. This is strictly Pacer rating evaluation. We have IRI and rutting as well as imagery that we need to find a way to get it to your GIS hands and get it in your hands somehow or another through some sort of application. We don't always know what that's going to look like until we hear back from the jurisdictions. One thing to note, though, based on the cost, the cost was not a really concern this year because we were able to leverage the CATS MPO in reimbursing you through the asset management program, the total amount it costs you to serve us, to have us do this for you, which was pretty nice.
Yeah, so we're going to be getting reimbursed from the regional
Yeah.
planning unit, the $1,639 that
Yeah.
it costs for the Pacer rate.
It's all great information. We really appreciate it. I think the last time you guys were in, before you had the laser
Yeah.
Tahoe, you had mentioned about the ruts, and I think that was one of the leading factors for us to move towards a single surface trash provider for the village,
Sure.
and then also to, long before my time, to establish a truck route for Bradford White to try and get the traffic off our local streets. So it'll be nice to see when that comes out,
Okay.
how much ruts we still have on our local streets with the addition of the truck route and the reduction of garbage traffic. So
I can identify those as left lane, right lane, and difference in an average. So when I export those, I'll make sure I get those to you.
oh, no, we can wait for the data. It's okay. I just wanted to let you know we
Yep,
really
yep.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. All right, very good. Thank you.
Move on to the Fall Fest petition.
Yeah. Do you want me to go down to the podium?
You have a microphone, you're okay. So I'm guessing that this is going to be Mackenzie.
Yeah. I'll start first. Does anyone have any questions before I address the questions that were in the emails?
Looks good. Help yourself.
Okay. So, Rhonda, if you can scroll down to, I think it was, maybe you can correct me and make sure I have all the questions. So hay rides and Alex's concern of,
The hayride was the route. I have his page here, so he's
Yeah.
concerned about the route. He doesn't want to sign off on the route till he knows if High Street's going to be okay.
okay,
That's basically where that is because he doesn't want the hayride to cross High Street if High Street's still under construction or potentially just been paved, stuff like that.
right.
So he's not saying no, but he won't say yes
Right.
at this point.
So,
And Sergeant Ware was concerned over the type of vehicle.
right.
Okay.
So it will be, for the safety of those participating in the hayride, if we can't make continuous right turns, we're just gonna not do the hayride. So the route that we chose is the only route we would feel to be safe enough to do it on that scale. So if that route doesn't work, we're just gonna forego the hayride. As far as the wagon that's gonna be used for the hayride, yes, it does have it's not a flatbed. It's Beelagor's, Matt's trailer.
Yep.
So it has, it's boxed in. Yeah, stake rack. So, so that's the goal for that.
There was with the s'mores, the fire pits,
Yes.
the level of dryness at the time since they're going to be on the grass.
Yep. And Bill let me know, Chief Richardson let me know that too. So we'll play that by ear. Hopefully middle of October, it'll be nice, wet and damp fall weather. So that's what we're hoping for, but you never know. So we're willing to kind of pivot with that if we need to. We'll just keep an eye on the conditions. And then I think another thing was letting the Quadplex folks know of the event. So the trunk or treat obviously is going to be along that parking because that's the greatest extent, but maybe Gretchen can answer or you guys can answer. What do we normally do when we have large events and we have parking there? Because that's public parking.
if we don't usually close a parking lot down though, what's been done in the past, if a group or a person or organization or whatever wants to have the lot closed, like my sister's closet will often do a right-of-way permit to close this one,
Yeah.
they let the residents know as
Okay,
the event organizer.
okay.
Mhm.
So I can go ahead and do that. I'm sure you guys have contact information if I can't get them knocking at the door, but our main goal, I don't think we want to shut the whole parking lot down. We just want to use the parking spots along the sidewalk grass line, so that way kids are walking on the sidewalk and not in the middle of a parking lot or close to a street. So that's the goal, is just to use that strip only.
So you face them like, you probably face your trunks toward the
Yes.
sidewalk? Okay.
Yes, yep.
Got it.
And so far, we've got some good participation. Ann's actually putting together the craft market. So I think we're getting some good ground there. So hopefully, if approved, this will be a good community event. Yep. And of course, the craft market will be in the pavilion. Yeah. We will need use of electric for the amphitheater. Because we have a DJ Mosaic, well, Brent, and then, we were hoping we could also waive the peddler permit for the craft market.
I think there was one other question here. Oh, Alec did have a question on trash cans. He needs to know if you need more trash cans.
So maybe one or two more would be helpful. Every participant that's joined into the shenanigans, I've told them, we asked if they could stick around after the event to help clean up and make sure everything's clean. So I'll make sure to bring a big old box of 55-gallon trash bags as well, and we'll load those up into Carveth Village, if need be.
I will make a motion to approve the event permit
Or
with the condition that the organizer
Yes.
reaches out to staff the week prior to make sure conditions are okay for burning and the route, just to clarify the clerical stuff we just touched on,
Wonderful, I can do that. And
to waive the peddler's permit.
So if there's we typically have not waived if you have any food trucks though.
Yeah,
right, no food trucks.
Okay.
The Lions will be providing walking tacos, and Carveth we're making homemade cookies for snacks.
Okay. Just make
Yeah.
sure you have your health department stuff posted.
Yes, so the Lions
So-
will do that, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, just as long as the health department stuff is
Yep,
posted.
yep,
and that.
and that. And if conditions aren't right for it, for the burning or for the hayride, we'll just forego those two events. Yeah. It'll still be a fun-filled, packed day of different activities, so.
Do you want to say that they have to catch in the week before or just the week of, like not a full week, right?
The
Are
week
you
of's
saying
fine.
the week of, like
Yeah.
maybe Monday or Tuesday would touch base with what has to be changed?
Yeah,
Okay.
it gives us a better idea of what the weather's gonna be
Yeah,
like too for
I just
that
want to
day.
make sure we phrase the motion properly. So
Yep.
I'm going to phrase it that week of, okay?
That's fine. That'll work.
Am I allowed to vote on this since it's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because you have no financial
not-
gain, at least
Right.
you
No.
You're
don't,
spending
do
money,
you?
you're not making any.
Right.
You're actually required to vote on it.
Right,
Yeah.
we're paying for it. so-
Yes.
Yeah, right, no, I'll be there.
All right, so if Mr. Hamilton still supports my
I
amended
do.
motion, we have a motion with
all the
support.
changes.
Yes.
Addendums.
Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, we are down to council staff reports. Craig?
Good evening, council. Got my report in front of you. Not a whole lot of super updates. I did hand out a United Way form for everybody if they're interested in contributing. We're having a contest in the office again this year to try to drum up some contributions from staff. Last year, we had 90% participation. I'm shooting for 100% participation this year. All of the United Way dollars stay in Berry County to support local folks that need services. There's a lot of times people think, it's just for people that are, with their hand out and things like that, but it's really for, one time, maybe even one time in their life. There was a time in my life where I needed, the real estate market crashed and we could barely afford to pay for our mortgage, and United Way was there for us. So that's there. If you're interested in helping out, please let me know, or just fill it out and get it to me. And the only other addition I want to add to my report was that we're working through education throughout the staff. We're just completed week 3 of my human resources training at Davenport University. Doug is attending MAP conference, which is Michigan Association of Planning, this week, and Glormar's at several accounting and municipal finance trainings too this week and next week. So. Sorry.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
And I just thought of this, I'm sorry, but I know last year we were a little bit late on the mark for your annual review.
Mm-hmm.
Will that be coming up again? Because I thought your hire date was in October or the first.
Agenda is starting for next week.
Oh, cool.
It would have been on this week except for Mr. Smith is absent tonight. So.
Okay. Yeah, so I thought about it. I'm like, gosh, it's already been a year, so.
Yep. I just sent Mr. Kramer an email about that this morning. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually jumped the gun and sent you all the reviews
Oh,
last week. So Dick already asked for a paper copy, right?
So did I.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll need a paper copy too.
Yeah, they're not, I don't know how to make it fillable. I can try.
Okay.
If you need it fillable, I can send it to you fillable.
Paper.
Just let me know.
Paper's fine too.
However you need it.
Send them back anonymous and I'll just compile the stuff like we did last year and we'll go over it.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Anything else, Craig? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Doug.
Good evening, council. So there hasn't been a terrible amount of permits for this last month. Things are starting to slow down. And regarding updates, so certainly the Designware property, originally we were told it was going to be mown down today. Fortunately, there were some clerical issues. It is slated to be demoed this Thursday. So, look forward to that. Beyond that, the 36 State Street, myself and the village manager have been working with the developer to try to, prepare a preliminary development agreement. So then, we can bring that forward to you and have the appropriate discussions at a later date. Beyond that, the ordinance committee has been working to refine potential scope of work for our master plan updates. So hopefully we can, start working that forward a little bit more. A lot of the conversations that we have recently were more pertaining to how we're engaging with the community to try to get some of that work done preliminary prior to, potentially working with a consultant on moving that forward. So there's a handful of things. I'm sure that we'll have more updates on that because we'll be meeting on a monthly basis until, that's ready for the planning commission to, take further action with. Don't know if anyone has any questions about any of that or anything else related. MAP is starting tomorrow, so
Is it at least local?
it's Grand Rapids. So,
Oh.
yeah. Can't get much more local. Cool.
We
Awesome.
went to Portage for ours. All right. Thank you, Doug. Bob?
Yay. Good afternoon, good evening.
Afternoon.
Everything is in front of you. There's a couple of things. The one on the overhanging brush, Lempal has been closed. They took care of that. Gave no citations this month. And 4 Secretary of State checks and license plates. So, questions?
Thank you. And Gretchen?
Good evening, council. As you know, the DDA has our next TIF engagement on October 21st with the businesses. I should have a report to you from Williams & Works on those first pop-up engagements, which is what we'll be presenting at that meeting at the next time I'm reporting to you. The scorecards have been totaled and received. I've been working on the reporting. It's all been sent in to MEDC. We are a network level Main Street now. The next step to becoming an engaged Main Street is I need the council as well as the DDA to complete a training series. I will send that out to you tomorrow. I did this training series over the summer. You set up your account, they'll get you your credentials, and then it's self-paced, so you can start it and stop it at any time. The goal I have in mind is if everyone could complete it before the end of the new year from both boards, so then we can move on to becoming the next level in Main Street. The DDA decided at their last meeting to move forward with Placer AI. We picked the annual report level where we'll get 4 basic and 4 special reports annually. These will help with like leakage reports. It'll be an important tool for developers or small businesses in talking about what would be successful in Middleville. Additionally, there's been a lot of conversation about business retention and questions regarding why businesses are leaving. So I am investigating CRM, which is something I intend to have before the end of the new year. Through CRM, pending which company we decide to go with, we'll be able to generate reports and show data for both businesses and for boards on what may be causing businesses to leave, as well as what might be helping them stay and what causes success.
Tell me what CRM stands for?
It is Customer Relation Management.
That's what I thought. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
It'll also just be a really useful tool because instead of having hard copies or emails or Excel spreadsheets, it will be a tool that can be used throughout time. Anyone can come in and access the information and see what dialogue, conversations were happening with businesses in town and how they were doing. So it's a really good tracking tool as well. Does anyone have any questions?
I like the way you bullet your report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we are down to liaison reports. There's not an awful lot to liaise on.
The TAPRC meeting has been rescheduled for Thursday at 6. I don't think yet we have a formal agenda, but I'll send you over the details of that via email.
Okay.
Did the library meet?
The library did meet. They discussed the direction they're moving now that everything's been approved. Kate, myself, and Keith have a Zoom meeting coming up that we're going to talk about the next steps moving forward to start the, I can't remember the survey, but
Feasibility
the
study?
feasibility study it is. But that's first week October, so that's coming up pretty quick.
Next week.
And soccer season's almost over, so I can start going to library meetings again.
Yes. Yeah, my challenge with that is I was getting emails prior to, and now I'm not getting anything. And so I don't know if they're meeting or not.
We'll reach out, let them know.
They did have an agenda that they got to us this past time, so I did put that out on Documents on Demand, so you should have
Yeah.
gotten an email. But that's pretty much all I'm getting is an agenda.
Yeah,
There's not usually a packet.
right.
I get a notification the day of, hey, who's coming today?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Dick, did you want to?
Yeah, we had a site plan committee meeting for 115 High Street, and I see that's on the agenda. We'll be covering that.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, then let's move on to that. So we have 115 High Street discussion. So Doug and Johnny.
Good evening, council. It's good to see you all. Thank you for some time to kind of, talk and discuss through the project over at 115. So just to kind of recap a little bit, in the spring of 2022, there was an RFP for development for that parcel. Later, early summer, this body unanimously decided to go with a proposal that would kind of expand our hospitality program. Right now, we currently operate Left Field Coffee Bar over at 124 East Main Street. And that sort of seemed like a prime spot to kind of help grow our both roasting and sort of dining operations that we do there. So we signed a purchase and development agreement in August of 2022 for a 3-year development period. Side note, I'm not sure if Kim or Doug sent you any information that I passed along via email.
So I didn't send the stuff that was just received earlier today, but the council does have the development agreement. and the
Okay.
Timeline on that too.
Okay.
The
Pass
only,
it along on Monday.
okay. So the only thing I could say to recap or reiterate is, the site plan committee did meet. We requested some additional details. A couple items that were discussed was that one, that the site plan, the site plan was supposed to be approved a little over a year ago. Hence the issue with the current development agreement, along with, we discussed some discrepancy in regards to what's constitutes as a substantial completion, along with when the C of O should be issued, meaning project completion, because it won't get the C of O until everything's done. What we had discussed was that it may make sense, per the council's approval, would be that the site plan, what the documents that I received from Mr. DeMag earlier today appear to meet our requirements, that there's only a couple comments I had for him related to additional information. One being that making sure that the lighting is screened and doesn't, create any potential nuisance. And beyond that, it's likely it meets our requirements, excluding parking, which the site plan committee mentioned that they would likely be willing to consider that exemption. So that'll be on the agenda for the next week's planning commission, pending village council is receptive to extending the development agreement. Being that the site plan, at least till next month, along with possibly having substantial completion, as well as a C of O August of next year. Because when I reviewed the development agreement, there wasn't a clear understanding in regards to what substantial completion is. So that way there isn't any potential confusion later on. The other comment was about the use of the property, because Mr. DeMag had suggested that he was going to use it, which I'll let him explain, the type of banquet facility or however it's defined. But if the kitchen and the bakery are going to, or roasting room are going to be later on in the project, being potentially upwards to 3 years, that I would potentially recommend removing the use from the development agreement as a condition if the council was receptive to that. So that way we don't potentially have the business is everything's finished, he gets a C of O, and then we're doing follow-up inspections possibly a year or two later. That was a suggestion that I had made. But if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be right here. 'Cause
Cool.
I think
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take it back over. I appreciate that. That was very helpful. Thank you. I'd be happy to send along some of that paperwork because I don't know if it has been fully passed around within the different bodies and whatnot. But yeah, the purchase and development agreement signed August 2022, like Mr. Powers is just saying, for the 3-year agreement. We began work pretty swiftly. New doors, new heating unit in the building, water heater, et cetera, while DPW was kind of occupying that lower level there. And they were there until August of 2023, which I think with a lot of the moving parts of initially submitting the RFP underneath Mr. Urquhart and just all the moving parts there, I appreciate Mr. Powers bringing that up to our attention, that was something that needed to still be completed. And we've been working on that diligently since early spring this year. So we had full access to the space finally of August 2023 to help kind of complete measurements and use and whatnot for the lower level. So I appreciate your patience there while we kind of were working on that. And like Mr. Powers also was just saying that we hopefully now have the rest of that information submitted for the site plan committee. And again, I'd be happy to pass along that information to you as well. But yeah, we're very excited. I know initially in the development agreement, it had stated to explicitly a coffee shop. That was at a time when our building was up for sale and we weren't sure who was going to be, potentially buying it. Thankfully, now we have a great relationship with our land people. So the idea has sort of evolved in a way where we're hoping that the coffee bars is able to continue to operate out of 124, and then a new sort of concept for like a fusion American dining restaurant over at 115. What we would do is still utilize the spirit of the development agreement in terms of having a coffee shop, which is, a food-based gathering facility, and have sort of a commissary kitchen with our 124 Main Street kitchen providing services for 115, since the hours of operations are complementary there. So we've been diligently at work trying to get all of those moving parts in order. And yeah, we've been working along with the health department to make sure that they're in the clear on all of that. Still would like to move the roasting and canning operation over there, and eventually build out a full on-site bakery or on-site kitchen, excuse me. Yeah, we're just recently awarded a grant through the Small Business Association of Michigan with some help from Gretchen and the DDA, some of their information. We've got a couple things in the works as well in terms of other projects once High Street reconstruction is done. Didn't want to interfere too much with that, so that's why you haven't seen as much exterior work being done. But rest assured that there's been over 6 figures of work done into the building already internally in terms of getting it watertight and rehabbing and getting everything up to speed. Getting the upstairs totally refurbished, that sort of thing. So I apologize if there's been sort of a perceived gap in sort of communication or understanding, but I'm grateful for this time today to sort of hopefully have a dialogue and help kind of clear up any confusion that might exist there. So
what's the ask for today? Is this to extend until the
The
next?
ask would be to potentially extend the development agreement, allowing for site plan approval to be, next month, along with potential, said completion of the project, not substantial completion, but issue of C of O to be August of next year.
And obviously, the planning commission is in support of moving this forward.
So the development agreement is separate from the planning commission's purview. The planning commission, the documents that Mr. DeMag has provided, it appears to align with, our zoning needs. So you're in support of moving this development agreement forward, it would go on next week's meeting. And that the site plan committee they haven't seen them, this information. So as soon as the agenda is published on this Thursday, that information will be disseminated.
Okay. And what's the deadline for development?
The current one based on the agreement that we already have.
Right,
It's either July or August,
of next year?
of next year.
Okay,
which we believe we're still on track for
Okay.
that.
cool.
Yeah, which I'll also, just to give you guys at least a visual.
Thank you. I think I've seen that before, yeah.
So what this would allow is if the village council chose to extend the development agreement, it would allow both parties to continue moving forward in good faith with the understanding of when Mr. DeMag is anticipating having this project completed.
I think it behoove us to let the Planning and Zoning Commission move it forward and see what comes of that. You're here, you've given us explanations, so.
I
Thoughts?
would agree with Mackenzie. I think that we would make that decision once the planning commission decides.
Okay, so if the planning commission reviews and considers the site plan approval, or that meets the standards this next month, then come back before the council with the extended development agreement with the items that, or the proposal Mr. Demack submitted.
Absolutely, that would, an approved site plan would definitely make it really easy to say yes to.
All right. Do we need a motion for that?
I don't think so.
All right.
So yeah, good luck at site plan next week, and
Thank you.
we'll
We'll see
look
you
forward to
soon.
hear to you. All right, we're moving on to
Thanks, Johnny.
the Paul Henry Trail Bridges. Craig?
Yep, I'm gonna have Brandon come up to the podium if you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mears. So we have a proposal to do all of the engineering and basically be the construction manager for the Paul Henry Trail Bridges from Mr. Mears, and I'll let him go through the rest of it.
Yeah, previously, I mean, that included like the costs for the design.
Yes, I
and
did
what that-
share
so-
that with them,
Right,
yes.
okay, so you do have that. Now I've kind of shifted the focus to trying to raise some funds for this, and I sent an email today and talked to some of the people, including Ms. Getty, about the sources of dollars that might be available. I've got a list of some 13 potential sources based on other areas we've worked as a company and other types of funding we've been able to find, including the MDOT Transportation Alternatives Program, the TAP grants, MDNR trust funds. We've had trail projects where the city and the local township or two townships each applied for one, because that grant is competitive. It's capped at 400,000. TAP program is also competitive, but that is not capped. There's congestion mitigation and air quality grants available through some of the regional task forces or the planning commissions. So we're going to reach out to DB and others and see if they have a program like similar to what they have in Lincoln Township down in Berrien County. Those are due for on October 7th in that area. So we'll see if we can catch something. It's not a real complicated grant application for that. So there's also a carbon reduction program that we've used in the past. So we'll see through, also that's usually through a regional planning commission. We were able to receive some federal congressionally directed spending, so the CDS spending. So that would either come through the local rep, which would be Molinar in this area, or one of the two senators, Stabenow until she retires, and then or the replacement there, or Peters. So typically we could, we could reach out to their offices to see if they're going to be putting on a call for projects. But oftentimes those offices will reach out to the local municipalities in their districts about that. So that's also a potential source of money. So Bradford White or other local businesses, may want to contribute some. The village would be expected to match some dollars. The village DDA, if it's possible, that could be a potential source. Thornapple Township, or possibly Berry County, or trail groups, organizations, and then maybe even we'd reach out to the Kalamazoo Metro Area MPO and that task force, see if some of the dollars flow through that organization. So
in looking at this, Alec and I were looking it over, and I shared with you all the cost right now, or what it looks like potentially. We're also talking about redoing the pavement on the trail also, which would probably add another $500,000 to the cost. So if we did this all in one lump sum and put out for a capital campaign and stuff like that, then we'd be looking, total of roughly $2 million for the total project, including the replacement of the trail bridges and repaving of the trail and everything else. So what I would ask for today would be approval to contract with Williams and Works to move forward with the project, having them be our construction manager, and then also assisting us with locating additional funds with grants and things like that for the project. And Brandon shared with me today that we'd be able to do that at no additional cost for the
For the pursuit of the grants
Of
and the
the-
funding,
right.
yes, we would do that as a marketing effort in recognition of our longstanding relationship with Village and that we're grateful for. So that's the least we can do. And obviously, we would be in a position to help do the work should our search for grants and dollars be successful. So I don't want to say that we're really a construction manager per se, like some other companies are, but we would, sort of our proposal would be to prepare the plans, the specifications, put it out for bid with a construction document, and then we would administer the construction when it got to that part.
Yep.
So that would be our role in that. So that, that's survey and soil borings, and then ultimately, testing and all that. So I think I put together a pretty good and reasonably detailed cost estimate. I think there's been some talk about, other areas did more for less, and why is it so expensive? And I think I don't want to get caught in those weeds. I mean, we know how costs have exploded in construction. So I'm trying to be responsible and put together a reasonable budget. If this gets too far out to the future, then we'll have to, look at, adding to the budget a little bit. But I think it's pretty responsible budget this time. And it's all on paper. It's all broken down with the contingency and the different costs broken out. So I feel pretty good about that. I mean, we're pretty transparent.
I got a question.
Yes.
When do we start incurring costs?
If we were authorized,
Prior to the fundraising or after?
Well, it all depends on what is the pleasure of the council here. I think, this would be sooner than fundraising probably, but like we could cap it at like 50,000 or 60,000 or something at this point. That would be spent over the next like half a year or something like that. So maybe a little sooner than that, but.
So some costs would be incurred prior to fundraising, certainly, but the bulk of it would be after we, secure the funds.
I think we'd have to know what that is.
So each time that there would be a cost, it would come back to us anyway. So we'd know before we spend it, because we'd have to.
Right, and we could work out a timeline too
Yep.
on how we envision that going, like when soil borings and things like that. So we accounted for all those costs in our proposal.
And I've met with the township already. There is an appetite to assist us at some point, but I'm not sure exactly what that looks like yet. So.
Oh, and like Brandon said, if they're applying for grants alongside us, that would definitely help.
Right, so I think we need a
Absolutely.
kind of a coordinated effort
Yep.
here, and that's kind of what I talked to Catherine about, and she's been helpful too, to making sure that the county, can provide resources, even if it's just kind of coordination, but to get the different parties together and working in a cooperative manner. I have with me, and I shared this, but this might not be easy to see, but this is a document from 4 years ago. Our Williams Works is doing the trail project for the Lowell Area Recreation Authority. And what you really can't see here, it's almost a $6 million project. It's MDOT TAP is right at the front. It was a $2.9 million grant. It was the third largest TAP grant that MDOT had awarded at the time. The other two were in the Detroit metro area. So that was really nice that the Lowell area got that. But I mean, that's kind of this area is very similar in terms of it's a connector for a regional trail that spokes out all over. So that was good. But there's also MDNR Trust Fund grant that the city got, and then the Lowell Area Recreation Authority. And the city of Lowell kicked in some money in the DDA, Lowell Township, Virgins Township. Lowell had a community foundation that put some money in. The Meyer Foundation back then was giving money. That money is really not there as much anymore, but we'll see if there's some kind of a replacement. And then even had private donations. So they had quite a few different entities, all contributing to what is going to be, close to a $6.5–7 million project. So which should start construction next year.
Any other questions?
I got one.
Sure.
We have a cost of approximately $2 million. And I realize the crystal ball's broke yet on what grants we're gonna get and that type of thing. What would we be prepared to pay on the $2 million or $2 million project, village? What would our share? And I realize it's approximate and all that type of stuff.
Brandon, help me out here. We received the MDNR Trust Fund grant for the pavilion.
Yes.
And I don't remember, was it 10% that we were responsible for?
I believe it was a 20%.
20%.
20 or 25%. But like I said, the DNR trust fund grant is, I believe it's capped at 400,000. So you could potentially get up to 800,000 between the two entities. So there would be, I believe, a 20% match requirement from that. The TAP grants and some of the other grants would not typically have a local match.
So we could typically be looking approximately at 400,000 for the two bridges would be our share.
And repaving.
Potentially, yeah.
And repaving, right?
And I realize it's up. Something bad.
Right, and I'll put pen to paper on the resurfacing to it, like maybe 20 some dollars a square yard or something
Sure.
like that for an 1.5 inch mill and fill.
Well, and we might get lucky on that too. We might be able to get a contractor that's in the area working on one of our major streets. So
Right.
fingers crossed.
If we do it the same time that we do Irving Road, maybe we can do
I know some of the, like the other grants we're pursuing in other areas for like the CMAC and all that are a little bit down the road. So I mean, that's part of it. I know the regional task forces, which the previous speaker from the Metro Council mentioned, it kind of must be present to win too. So it's important to attend those calls, get your butt in a chair at that meeting and ask, and then you might not get it the year you want it, but you might get it the next year. So, and then, we could do a phased approach, on the project as well. So,
I'll read those way up.
Like that?
There we go. I make a motion to contract with Williams and Works as project management. You want that project management term, or do you want something different?
well, I guess just as the consulting engineers, on the project, so responsible for, the design, bidding and ultimately the construction engineering of a construction project.
As consulting engineer for the replacement of the Paul Henry Trail bridges owned by the Village of Middleville.
Support.
We have a motion with support to do what I just said. Any further discussion before we vote? All right. We're not spending money, but it is a contract, so I feel like we should do roll call on
Yeah,
this.
probably should.
So Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Sure. Mackenzie Peters,
Aye.
Ann Williams,
Aye.
Steve Baldry,
Aye.
Robert Bishop,
Aye.
Richard Hamilton, Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we're looking forward to it.
seeing those numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Up next,
Yeah. We have the DDA and Village Council joint meeting mediation cost.
yes. So after our last meeting, I reached out to Marilyn Simonek to see if she would be interested. She's the one that conducted our
Other joint meetings.
other joint meetings and strategic planning and everything else, to see if she'd be interested in sitting down and working some things out with the council and DDA boards. She said she would be interested. It cost roughly $2,500 for her to come out and utilize her services. The DDA board, in the most recent meeting, approved to split the cost with the village council if they were so interested. They also outlined October 29th and 30th, which would be the fifth week of October, if you were interested in utilizing one of those dates. If you wanted a different date, we have some other dates that would be available too. So
I'll make a motion to approve the split payment,
Shared cost.
shared cost for Ms. Semenik for the mediation of the joint meeting. Not a training, but a joint meeting.
Support.
All right. We have a motion with support do we put a dollar amount on it?
Not to exceed.
The
Not
one
to
on there's
exceed
not to exceed
1,500?
1,500. Yeah.
All right. We have a motion with support to approve sharing the cost with the DDA for a joint meeting not to exceed $1,500. Any further discussion before we vote?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Was it October 29 and 30 or October 29?
or one of the two. So I guess which would be preferred by the council?
I'm fine with any of those dates.
So Tuesday would be the 29th and 30th would be on a Wednesday.
Tuesday would be the ideal night. It's a normal meeting night, so.
Starting at 6 or 5?
Oh, easily 6, maybe even
6,
later.
yeah.
6, okay. Okay,
All right. Any other discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Ann Williams, Ann Williams.
Aye.
Steve Baldry.
Aye.
Robert Bishop.
Aye.
Richard Hamilton.
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters.
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. All right, motion carries.
okay, thank you.
All right, supplement number 17 to the Code of Ordinances. Rhonda?
This is my first time doing this. So basically, for those of you who don't know, when we do you approve ordinances, we send them to MuniCode. They throw them onto our website. Every so often, they actually do a full overhaul. So they actually get codified and put in there versus just, hey, what's new on the website? I did miss that at the end of 2023. I'm learning every day.
It's okay.
Anyway, so they did give me, at one point was to get us through 2023, but then actually they gave us an updated estimate that gets us actually through everything we've done to date, which is 2140, which it was, I think it was only a couple $100 different. So that's what I suggested to you, is to just go ahead and get us caught up to date, was through 2140. So that's basically what we're looking for, is approval to do that.
And I'll move to approve the supplement number 17 to the Code of Ordinances.
Support.
We have a motion with support to authorize. Is
Can I go?
there-
Sorry,
Yep, there you go.
there you go.
Authorize the expenditure of not to exceed $2,570
Mhm.
to publish the 2023 and a portion of the 2024 changes to the village's Code of Ordinances by Civic Plus.
And just as a side note, they did say it may take several months to get that done. So,
Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none. Rhonda, may I have a roll call, please?
Ann Williams.
Aye.
Steve Baldry.
Aye.
Robert Bishop.
Aye.
Richard Hamilton.
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters.
Aye.
And Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. At this time, I move to go into closed session pursuant to Section 8H of the Open Meetings Act to consider material which is exempt from disclosure under Section 13(1)G of Michigan's Freedom of Information Act at 8:02 PM.
Support.
I have a motion with support to go into closed session. Rhonda, may I have roll call, please?
Steve Baldry.
Aye.
Robert Bishop.
Aye.
Richard Hamilton.
Aye.
Mackenzie Peters.
Aye.
Ann Williams.
Aye.
Mike Kramer.
Aye. Motion carries.
Do we have a short recess?
No. No,
We do
no.
have to wait long enough to mute and all that, so. You know.
Mhm.
We got a ton on the
Yep.
agenda. So I now reopen the open meeting. Everyone should have a copy of the draft minutes from the
Mike's
DDA
on.
meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, good.
Just speaking late.
Everyone should have a copy of the draft minutes from the DDA meeting from September 17th, 2024. We should have the revenue and expenditure report in your packet. We are down to final public comment. Mr. Demag, I see that you came back.
Thank you, Johnny Mag. Just wanted to let the council know, normally this is the time that you all would receive a special event permit for Java Jog. Left Field celebrating 6 years this November, and it would be our 5th annual Java Jog. With High Street reconstruction, that's a significant portion of our 5K route. Chatting with some of our racers, you know, the option has always been available to utilize the trail fully, do it down and back. Most of our past participants have preferred to just postpone it until the spring. That way, if the rain or, you know, any weather delays the paving and everything on High Street, there wouldn't be any issues with the race. So we're planning to hold the 5th annual race in the spring and then keep the 6th annual race next fall as well. So you won't see a permit from us, but just know that our racers are excited to run on some newly paved High Street asphalt. So cool.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Final council comment? Anyone like to start?
I'll go ahead. Thank you for approving the Fall Fest. I know it was cut from the DDA event calendar, so we took it upon ourselves, a few of us, to make it happen for the community. So I'd like to thank you for allowing us to continue that.
Good. Bob?
I went up to the Michigan Municipal League thing up on Mackinac Island.
The conference.
Yeah. That, that building is way too fancy for someone like me. No, the conference was very interesting. I attended almost all of the housing stuff. There's a guy in Romulus that is building modular housing, where he can do apartments, and he just builds them in bays, so that it'll be like half an apartment hallway, half an apartment, and then you can just plug them up into the sky. It was really impressive. And then there was a project out in Nashville that was really interesting for potentially auxiliary dwelling units. But there was a lot of stuff that was very interesting. I was surprised at, we had the mayor exchange, and we talked with Lowell about their social district. That appears to have been huge for a lot of communities, and it might be something that it would behoove us to look into, because even the Michigan Municipal League said that it was sort of a moment in time that allowed that with COVID. And so I feel like that would be something to get in on before the window closes. But yeah, a very cool event. I don't ever want to stay at the Grand Hotel. That's too much.
Makes you nervous, huh?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Amazon selling houses? You can have
Yeah.
a whole house delivered to you now off Amazon.
It's like the Sears Roebuck.
Right.
Yeah.
That's when you hook up the air compressor and you blow it up.
No, it's actually a
foldable.
folding one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Big old pieces of sheet metal. You just click, click into place.
There's a couple of different styles, but yeah, and a lot of them are like the old Sears Roebuck houses, but yeah.
Mm.
Another generation reinventing the wheel.
Got a whole sea changer.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a whole bunch of bad ideas just getting circulated.
Mm.
Sears Roebuck houses were great. There's some of them that are still standing.
Steve, anything?
I've got about 30 hours into my ESSA training through the Michigan Infrastructure. We just got done with a module that was communicating to residents how you're spending their money. And like with High Street, for example, they just made a cheap sandwich board, a little 2x4 frame type of thing. It just said, this is what's going on, this is how much it costs, and this is everything we're doing. They said they got different municipalities, said they got that back in spades from residents that were starting to see where some of their tax money was going. And I had another Zoom pod. This time I was in with people from Detroit, both from City of Detroit and Detroit Zoo. They're looking at putting in their own sewer and water in Detroit Zoo. But but even the municipalities as big as they are have the same problems we do. They just got a few thousand more miles of road, and that type of thing. But quite frankly, I think we're in better shape than a lot of these places. It seems like the smaller communities are in a better place. So that's for me. The only other thing for me is going along with it is when I talk to residents, I work part-time in the car part store there. So a lot of people come in and now they know that I'm on the council. They like to vent once in a while too. But I know in the town crier, we have a pie chart of how our tax money is dispersed and so on and so forth. But part of that module training I was taking, there was a couple of cities that actually did a nice one-page, this is what we take in, but this isn't what we have to spend. Here's what we have to spend because the rest of the money went here, and type of thing. And, and then when you hear people complain about their taxes going up because of the inflation rate type of thing on your taxable value, I don't think residents understand that goes to DDA and the LDFA. So I think we could do a little better of communicating that. But other than that, that's what I have one problem with my computer too. I turned this good old tool here on yesterday to get ready for tonight. And it would give me put in your password, and then it just sat there. And it said time error. I tried it several times, off, on, off. Finally, I called our support number, and the guy was very helpful. But with my computer just sitting there, not accepting my password, he was able to get in, change the time, do some BIOS changes, I think, and reboot the thing. Maybe think about that the next time you got your computer off. No, that I wouldn't have thought that would have worked, but it did.
I had that same problem, and it took about 2 hours for them to figure out what to do. So it was my time on the phone. They said they were having a batch of CMOS batteries that were bad in a lot of the laptops, so they weren't holding a charge, and it was losing the clock. So
I don't know. I've been on battery all time here. And
yeah, they were saying that
The watch battery.
there's a little watch battery.
I got you. Sorry.
Yeah. There's a little watch battery on the motherboard to keep the clock and stuff running, even if you don't plug it in. And they were having trouble with some of those. And their recommendation to me was log in at least once a week. Because if you go 2 weeks, you can lose just enough time on the clock that you won't be able to get back in.
Oh, my gosh.
I've been doing 2-3 days a week on this class thing I've been taking. So it's been being used. Anyway, that was just, it wasn't so much of the problem as it was how we could fix it without me having it booted up.
Anything else? Okay. Steve, you're good? Rhonda?
Just, we have started the discussion with Mark about changing our rules of procedure so you can go forward with no MCOWs. In reviewing that document, there's probably a couple other changes that we'll have to do to update. It's his suggestion that we do update that before we publish the calendar with no MCOW on it. So that will be forthcoming. Then also, you guys probably won't notice it, but little things that bother my OCD, we're changing around here. So your postings are gonna all look the same, not like this one has this font and that one has that font. Y'all probably didn't even notice that not every agenda is headed the same way. So we're moving forward with little things like that.
I think Catherine was going to speak about the transit's upcoming millage, which is coming up in November, so it's a renewal millage. The Berry County Transit serves all citizens in Berry County. If you need a ride anywhere, give them a call, and they will get you where you need to go.
Oh, one more thing, when you talk about ballots, all of you that are on the ballot should, if you've not already, received your sample ballot so that you can approve that with the county, or you probably already did, so.
Were we supposed to take active actions on that? Because the way I read it, it was only if you needed to change it.
I'm just a message
Oh,
passer.
okay.
If they told you you don't have to do anything, then you don't have to do anything.
Everything looked right with me.
I
and it
just
didn't,
know it was
so.
filtering through, so, from my meetings, so.
All right. No, yeah, well, no, I better, Mother Sundance is coming up. We had a snafu with our DJ, apparently, securing him in March, reminding him in August, and then finding out last week that he's double booked and he can't make it because he's got a wedding. There's this amazing service in Grand Rapids where you can go on a website and you can find 12 DJ services in under 30 minutes. So we're back on track for that with a new guy from Holland. But it is still on for the 19th.
I know a local guy too, he's starting, if you have in the future potential needs, you contact him as well.
Give me that one after October, we'll see where we're at.
Yeah.
Thank you to Mackenzie for shifting the Fall Fest and for taking that on.
Yeah.
It's nice to see that volunteerism doesn't have to be like a government body, that the public still remembers how to run events. I'd like to see more of that. Thank you.
And the Lions Club, so they've been
And
a
the
great
Lions
partner.
Club and the Rotary and the Outcast Truck Club
And Bradford White and all the others
That's
that
right.
are helping put this together,
Yeah.
and Ann with her shop, and we're doing a
And
deed.
Apothecary on me.
Yep,
shout outs where shout outs are due.
so we're excited.
And I'm also excited to see Gretchen's progress with moving the DDA in the right direction. That Placer AI is going to be huge if and hopefully when they participate in our master plan update, because that leakage report is going to tell us what businesses are leaving, what people are going to what businesses outside of town. And hopefully, while we're doing the master plan update, we can update the archaic sections of that document that we didn't touch last time, because there's a lot to touch in that document. To try and get zoning in place, to try and get what we want to see to be in line with what people are leaving for, so that when we start reaching out for, this is what we're looking for with that document, it's in line with what we actually need. So fingers crossed. Other than that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Motion would be in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
I have a motion with support to adjourn. Any further discussion before we vote? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
I did end up with a case of com crud, but
Okay, so what?
com crud, convention crud.
Oh, yeah, I did too, actually, as a matter of fact, last year.
I